Hi guys, this is Nick from forexnoobs.com with some midday analysis. Today is Wednesday the 27th of July 2016 and the time is 13:02 here in the UK. You're looking at a Euro USD daily chart. I'm switching over to the daily. In today's analysis, I'm going to be going through most of the pairs on this list to the right here. And I'm going to be looking at pretty much each and every time frame for those pairs. I have a lot of weird time frames up here, like the 5 hour, 7 hour, 9 hour, 10 hour, 11 hour. I do not trade all these time frames. The only time frames I actually trade are the 3 hour, 4 hour, 6 hour, 8 hour, 12 hour, and daily. These other time frames are there just for analysis purposes. What I'm going to do is I'm going to be looking at each pair and looking at each time frame for those pairs to get an idea of what price is doing in the area and to scan for price action setups. For example, yesterday we identified a price action setup on USD JPY, ended up entering it, ended up being a good trade. So I'll go over that trade in this analysis. But that's what we do. We look for price action setups. A setup does not mean that there will be a trade. It means that it's a potential setup. It might turn into a trade in the next few hours, or it might just keep moving in its direction and you might not get a trade. Most of the times when you identify a potential setup, it doesn't end up actually becoming a trade. And sometimes you don't actually find any setups. So I don't know what's going to happen today. We might not find any setups. Last time I looked at the charts was like 6 hours ago, maybe 8 hours ago. So yeah, a lot could have changed, or maybe nothing has changed. Anyway, let's get started with today's analysis. Actually, one more thing. I always forget to say this. This analysis has changed. I used to just record a video and post it to YouTube. Now I record this video in front of a webinar room, a live training session room kind of thing with advanced course members. So if I'm talking to someone or answering questions, please assume that I am talking to advanced course members and not to myself. Anyway, let's get started with today's analysis. All right, we're starting with Euro USD. We're just going to work our way down the time frames, see if we see any interesting setups, but I can already tell we're not going to see anything interesting on Euro USD. All right, GBP USD looks like it's in between two support resistance areas. So again, we're not going to see anything interesting here. Yeah, I go through all the time frames anyway. It's just a habit I have. When I look at my charts, I just go through every time frame. Sometimes charts can surprise you. You might not think there's any setups, but then when you get to the lower time frames, you'll find a setup, or vice versa. But yeah, AUD has nothing. I wouldn't be surprised if we don't find any actual setups today. For those of you who were in the New Zealand USD setup yesterday and were in yesterday's analysis, I really do hope you considered exiting at this point where I said. It turns out it actually did turn around exactly where I was thinking it would turn around. I mean, it wasn't magic or anything. It was just kind of a clear price action signal that we were seeing on, I think it was the 6 hour at the time, but now it only really shows clearly on the 4 hour. We had that nice push up that took some people to their target, but then we had that indecision candle and price has fallen since then. So I do hope you managed to get out of that trade with profit. Okay, here's the USD JPY trade from yesterday. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to go through the USD JPY chart and just look at current price action. But there's nothing really tradable right now on this pair. So let's look at the setup from yesterday. And there's not really much to explain. I mean, if you want to know about this setup and how I plan to trade it, You could refer to yesterday's analysis on YouTube. But yeah, it ended up being a good trade. I mean, one thing I do want to say is there were a few comments on my blog by people saying they wanted to exit, and a few emails I got by people saying, oh, should I exit? Should I exit this trade because of this first candle here? So this first candle spiked up to there and then fell back down to the entry essentially. And a bunch of people freaked out and they exited the trade just because it hadn't hit its target on the first candle. That's not how trading works. When you enter a trade, you cannot expect it every time to go straight in your direction without stopping. Generally speaking, what's going to happen is price is going to push up, then come back down a little bit, push up, come back down a little bit. That's kind of normal price movement. So what we were seeing there on this first candle was normal price movement. That's what you would expect. It would have been unexpected for it to rush straight up and hit your target. That's what's unexpected. That's kind of like a surprising move. A normal move is for price to push up, come back down, push up, come back down. It was actually surprising that it reached all the way up here so quickly. So, sorry, I'm just reading a comment. If it's lagging a few seconds behind audio, I think it might be on your side. Is it okay for everyone else? Can everyone else hear me as I'm talking and not seconds later? All right, well then it's a Diabolic's internet. Download speed, I would assume. Anyway, so yeah, let's keep going. Yeah, so what we had here in this trade, there was no reason to freak out after that first candle. That was absolutely normal price movement. Price moves up and falls back down. It's more normal to see this than it is for price to rush straight up and hit your target straight away. So next time you're in a trade, if you see something like that, don't freak out. You just hold the trade. Hold the trade, because holding the trade would have resulted in a win. And it could have also resulted in a much, depending on, if you were there to manage your exit, you could have ended up making a whole lot more because it pushed all the way up to there. I wasn't around for this exit. It got closed out while I was away from my computer. So I got closed out at 1-to-2, just my normal risk to reward ratio. It would have been nice had I been around. It would have moved fast enough for me to consider staying in and taking more profit. But hey, what can you do? I was on a losing streak of 4 trades, so I am very happy that I've killed that losing streak with that USD JPY trade yesterday. Anyway. Nothing really forming on USD CAD. Anyone interested in trading continuations though, do keep in mind, I don't trade continuations at the moment, but do keep in mind that it is bouncing from support, so it might do something like that, continue up. I'm not trading that kind of stuff, but just a heads up that it might be what's happening there. Yeah, it doesn't look like we're going to get any setups today, so this is going to kind of be a boring analysis, but that's the way it works sometimes. It's not always going to be you're not always going to get setups when you look at your charts. Keep in mind that I do check my charts several times per day, every 4 to 8 hours. It kind of depends. So just because I'm not seeing it when I'm doing analysis right now, it doesn't mean that there won't be a setup today. In 6 hours, 4 hours, whatever, price can have moved enough for there to be a setup. Although I think I might have spoke too soon, so it looks like we might be seeing something here on USD-CHF. Let's quickly go through all the time frames. I just want to get an idea of what price is doing in this area. Oh, it's clearly stalling. stalling it's like a hard stall. I mean, what do I mean by hard stall? So we've got buyers pushing up to here, new candle opening, and buyers could not push any further. See the upper wicks? They're really tiny. You know, buyers pushed up 1 pip from there and they just couldn't push up anymore. So that's kind of like, that's interesting. That tells us that buyers are losing a lot of strength very, very quickly. So that means that we could potentially see a reversal here. We don't actually have a closed candle on the 12 hour, and on the lower time frames, I don't know, it doesn't look that good. It's not something that I want to rush into, but it's definitely something that's worth keeping an eye on. So I'm going to keep an eye on USD CHF. All we have right now is price stalling on an area of resistance. So it's something that might potentially evolve into a setup given enough time. But right now it's just price stalling on resistance. So we just have to wait and see with that one. Nothing. AUD New Zealand is in between two support resistance areas. Yeah, Euro New Zealand is again in between two support resistance areas. So we're not really seeing anything there. New Zealand JPY. Yeah, not going to get anything here. It's already reversing this one. Yeah. GBP AUD. GBP CHF. The CAD pairs, I don't actually have support resistance areas for these pairs. A few people wanted to enter short yesterday, which looks like it has been a successful trade. I didn't enter this. I'm not sure what time frame they were entering on. Anyone in this room take this trade? I vaguely remember seeing it posted to the forum, but I think it might have been in the watch list section. The Euro cards, I think AUD CAD was also posted. It looks like it worked out quite well, but whatever. I'll check the forum later, and I'll answer that question for myself. Well, the question I was going to ask would have been the entries and stuff. I'll check the forum and I'll figure out what the entries were. I'm curious at how that played out, if anyone actually did end up entering it. Yeah. All right. Anyway, you entered AUD CAD, Russell? Where did you enter? And what time frame was it? I thought I saw it posted to the forum. What time frame? You entered at 97.75. Okay. while we wait for Russell, I'm kind of curious. Is anyone here playing Pokemon Go? Not right now. I mean, has anyone here started playing it? I got a Pikachu yesterday from a 2K egg. Pretty awesome. Wait, did you enter a long? I think you entered a long because 97.75 is all the way down here. I was talking about the short. Are you talking about the long from this level? Yeah, I heard about the trick to get Pikachu as a starting Pokemon, but it was too late. I'd already started playing. All right, no problem, Russell. It's fine. Yeah, I was asking about the short trade from here because I thought I saw it posted to the forum. Anyway, it doesn't really matter. We can't really go over this because I don't really have support resistance, and I honestly don't really trade these pairs. I just had them up because there was chat about them on the forum yesterday. So let's forget about those. Yeah, USD CHF is something we should be looking out for today. It is clear price is stalling there. You know, it might not end up being anything. It could very easily be that buyers retake control of pricing and then you push it up. But it is just something to watch out for. It might turn into a potential setup. But other than that, across the other pairs, we don't really have much going on. But also keep in mind that that's just for right now. You know, we could come back in 4 hours and get 6 trade setups. It's just right now, at this moment in time, there's only USD CHF. So I'm going to check back in 4 hours. Unfortunately, I can't do analysis every 4 to 6 hours. So, you know, I do analysis once per day and hope that we get setups at that time. But if we don't, then yeah, no analysis. But as always, I will post to the forum if I do see any potential setups when I next go through my charts in a few hours. Diabolic is saying, I notice you have all the New Zealand pairs apart from GBP New Zealand and New Zealand CHF. You know, to be honest, there's no real method to this, to the pairs I'm trading. I don't trade this many pairs, generally speaking. A lot of these pairs, I just open them up because someone in the forum is saying, you know, can you check out AUD New Zealand for me, Nick? And I'll open up the pair and I'll put some support resistance on it. And then I'll just forget to close it, and then it just stays on this list. It doesn't mean I'm actually trading those pairs actively. So yeah, I don't have New Zealand CHF and GBP New Zealand up, but that's just because, you know, nobody has asked me about one of those pairs recently. GBP New Zealand sounds like a decent pair though. I might check that out. The last time someone asked me about GBP New Zealand was when price was up here. So that was sometime in May, because that's the only support resistance areas I have for it. Looks like a half decent pair though. May as well add it to my list, but I'm not really sure about New Zealand CHF though. If you want to know the main pairs I trade, because I don't know them off the top of my head, just go to the. Oh wait, let me find it for you. I just need to bring the site up. Go to my support and resistance. Once you get to the my support resistance page, those are the pairs I trade. The ones I have support resistance for. Or the ones that I keep my support resistance up to date for. So Euro USD, GBP USD, AUD USD, USD CAD, New Zealand USD, USD JPY, GBP JPY, Euro JPY, AUD JPY, USD CHF, Euro AUD, and Euro GBP. Those are the main ones. All the other pairs you see listed, generally speaking, are just pairs that I just open them up because someone in the advanced course asked me if I'm going to take a trade there. All right, anyway, guys. Diabolic is saying, I thought you... Well, actually, everyone can see because I've got the little window in the recording. So I don't need to read the questions out. Yeah, technically speaking, I have added more because, you know, I do have more open. So even though, you know, AUD New Zealand, for example, no, better example, I don't know, GBP CHF, not a pair I would normally trade, right? But I might trade, if I see a trade form in there, I'm going to take it just because I happen to have it open because someone asked about it last week and then I see a trade forming there. You know, it's not like I'm going to say, no, this is not one of my main pairs, so I'm going to totally avoid that awesome trade setup. You know, I'll still trade the setup. Normally you would find I'm stricter about closing charts after I'm done using them. But since Brexit, a lot of the trade setups have dried up. So, you know, that's also partially why I haven't really been closing these as much and I keep them open. But I don't really have that much time for questions today, I'm sorry to say. I need to head off. Wow, a lot of people have come into this room for this webinar. I need to head off. So yeah, keep an eye on USD CHF because it might turn into a setup. I mean, yeah, it's stalling pretty. I want to take a look at the 1 hour real quick. I want to get a feel for exactly what's happening here. All right, so first it came up here, it stalled for a long time, then it tried to push up again, and now it's stalled again. So it's stalled here for four hours-ish. Yeah, this is a pretty good sign that that price is getting stuck here and it's really struggling. So it's definitely worth watching. Yeah, I know. The preceding trend on USD CHF is not fantastic. It really isn't fantastic. The problem with, if this were to be a trade that I would enter, I don't have much time left, so I'll try speed through this. All right, so if I were to enter this trade based on this current indecision candle, exactly how it is now, even though it's not a great indecision candle. So I probably put my stop up here just to get it above resistance, well above resistance. So I have my stop well above resistance. See, I could put my target down here feasibly and get a 1 to 2 risk to reward ratio. So putting my target down here would get me, would allow me to hit target when price is still kind of close to this minor area of support resistance, this place where price stalled last time when it was coming up. And I could even pull my target a bit higher because I don't mind going for a 1.5 risk to reward ratio. So, you know, this trade is still feasible. Risk to reward ratio, this trade still kind of makes sense. You could still potentially enter this trade. Even with a crappy preceding trend, even though the preceding trend kind of really started here, and before that it stalled for a long time, you know, I don't really mind that much because I do have the possibility to hit my target before it gets into this troubled area, this area where price is going to stall, or potentially going to stall, not for sure, but, you know, we do have some evidence that price, bam, came up to there and stalled, came up to here and stalled for quite some time. So, you know, yeah, this preceding trend is not that great, but this kind of like this problem area in this preceding trend is far enough from the entry to make this a viable trade, because we're still going to get that 1 to 2 or 1 to 1.5 depending on what the overall target's going to be. You know, there's still the potential to hit that target pretty easily. So yeah, I'm not that worried about the bad preceding trend. A lot of people kind of get confused with preceding trends, and it's totally understandable, because we used to place our support resistance areas on the 8-hour and below chart. So we would use the 8-hour, 6-hour, for example, sometimes maybe even the 4-hour to place our support resistance areas, which meant that we would get our support resistance areas a lot closer together. So we'd have like support resistance areas like this, you know, they would be a lot closer together, which was fine for trading back then, because price was not moving as much. There wasn't as much volatility. Now with increased volatility, we need our support resistance areas further apart. But what does that mean for preceding trends? It means, you know, before, when we were trading based on support resistance from the 8-hour, 6-hour, 4-hour, you'd get this preceding trend that started at this area and ended at that area, which made it look like a very strong preceding trend. So you would say that's a good preceding trend. But these days, our support resistance areas are spread out further apart because of higher volatility, which means it's rare to see that strong preceding trend spanning from this one to that one, or vice versa, from the top one to the bottom one. Sorry, I just got a message, which means I really need to go. Let me mute my phone real quick. Anyway, so where was I? Yeah, with preceding trends, you have to accept that sometimes they're not going to be that fantastic. They're not going to be those long preceding trends. Sometimes they're going to start 50% of the way between these two support resistance areas, because support resistance areas are further apart these days. So you kind of have to make do with some crappy preceding trends sometimes. You just have to be smart about it and play it smart. You know, when you look at this problem area where price has potential to get stuck, you know, it's well within, it's far enough away from the entry that you could get a decent target on this trade, so it's fine. So yeah, I hope that answers your question. So yeah, potential setup here. Potential. No, it's not even a potential setup. It's a potential setup. You know, we don't know what's going to happen. It's just something worth watching for now. So yeah, thank you very much, guys, for attending. I'm really sorry that I have to go so quickly and I don't have time to answer any extra questions. Tomorrow's analysis session, I'm going to have plenty of time afterwards, and I can do all the questions that are needed. But other than that, guys, I will see you for tomorrow's analysis.